Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and another card making video. Today I'm going to be making these two slimline cards using some new stencils and dies from Trinity Stamps. This is the Pop Fizz Stencil set. There are two big stencils plus masks in this set. You can see that you can create a large wine bottle here, perfect for a slimline size card. There are wine glasses and details that you can add to both of these, like labels, shine marks, bubbles, there's a cork, and they have etched lines in the stencil so you can easily line those up. And the stencil set coordinates perfectly with the Cheers die set, which also has the same wine bottle, wine glasses, the accent pieces like the labels, the cork, the wrapper for the top of the bottle, and this die set even comes with the word Cheers with a bubble layer that can go behind it. So the possibilities are endless. You can make champagne bottles, wine bottles, a bubble bath, a ship in a bottle, like so many different things you could do with these two sets. So I'm going to make two different cards today, pairing these up in different ways. So the first way I'm going to use this is by using the stencil to create the bottle. So I'm starting with some Distress Oxide ink in Tattered Rose and applying that to my paper with a blending brush, so it's going to kind of have a more subtle, soft look. Then I'm going to put the label layer over the top of this and come in with a darker color, which is Worn Lipstick, and add that with a blending tool, so it's going to be more dark and crisp. Now for the top of the bottle, I thought it would be really fun to use this Nuvo Glacier paste and in silver and have that be like the wrapped foil around the top of the bottle. Once that's dry, I can bring in the coordinating die set and die cut this whole thing out. It's going to die cut this without a white edge or a white border, which I love. Isn't that really cool? Okay, once that was done, I die cut out the largest oval label from some holographic cardstock, as well as the lid for that bottle. And now I have the smaller label I die cut out, and I'm going to put the circle over the top, lining up my stencil with those etched lines, and then add a little bit more of that Glacier paste to add that really cool foiled label look for my bottle. So I'm just being really careful with that, removing it slowly, and I just stuck it to the back of my stencil with some paper tape. While that is drying, I'm going to create the background of my card using the stencil and this kind of like explosion little scene here, and that I did with Tattered Rose as well, because my bottle is filled with pink champagne, so I thought the explosion should be the same color. Okay, now it's time to work on my wine glass here. So there is a stencil that you can use to create like the look of a beverage being in the wine glass. So I'm going to do this right on my background here. So I'll tape the stencil in place, and you can see I just used my glass and my bottle to kind of figure out where all of this stenciling would need to go to line up with those images or die cuts once I adhered them down. So I did the first layer, which is the bubbles and like the surface of the wine or champagne in my case, and then I'm doing the more solid or open layer more lightly without adding any more ink to my brush. So the bubbles are going to look really subtle in this, and that's okay because I'm going to have some more vibrant bubbles that stand out more, I will add as an embellishment. So now I can just glue that wine glass in place, which I also die cut from some holographic paper. And you can see on my wine bottle, as I stick it down with those foam squares, I stamped the Sealed with a Kiss, which is from the Sending Smooches set. It's a gnome stamp set for Valentine's Day, and it had that cute sentiment. Now I'm adding the word Cheers. I did not use the bubble layer this time, but I die cut it from some holographic paper that's, you know, like the really busy pattern. It looks so good with this die cut. I also use that paper for these little shine marks, which would be great to use as part of the explosion out of the bottle. So a lot of things you can do with that tiny little die right there. Next, I'm going to personalize this bottle with some die cut letters from the graham cracker alphabet and white cardstock. I love that this label fits these letters so well, and personalizing this bottle makes it a great wedding anniversary card or wedding card or bridal shower card. And these initials just happen to be me and my husband's initials, so it very well could be an anniversary card at some point. Next, I'm going to bring in that label that's now dry and add it to the bottom of the neck of the bottle. See how it fits there perfectly? I love this added detail. It really makes this bottle more special. So cute. Now I'm adding the card front to my Slimline card base, which is 8.5 by 3.5, so you can see how large that bottle is. It's a really good size. And I've added some fortune teller bubbles all over the card and in the wine glass. Aren't they gorgeous? They kind of pick up the color that's around them. So mine's really picking up that pink and I love it. So that is the first card where I use mostly the stencils, but for card number 2, I'm going to use mostly the dies. So I'm die cutting out this bottle from a piece of black cardstock to create a window for my shaker card. Then on my background piece, or the piece that will be layered behind my bottle, I'm going to throw on some more of that Tattered Rose Distress Oxide ink. I'm not using the stencil for this because I would then have to line it up perfectly, and my cover of my shaker where I die cut that wine bottle is going to cover that up. So you wouldn't really be able to tell that I use the stencil. It's not necessary. So I'll just use my cover piece as a reference to make sure I have ink everywhere that I need it. And once I did that, I did spritz this with water to get some of those oxidized splatter marks, which I am in love with. And that's going to help add to like the fizzy bubbly look of my pink champagne. Now it's time to add the window sheet to the back of my cover panel, and I just use some liquid glue to glue that down. This Barely Art glue holds it on really well, and then I'm covering everything with foam tape. Now you can see I went exactly around the bottle for my shaker window. I don't really need the shaker elements to go around the whole card, just inside that bottle. But I do want foam square or foam tape all the way around my panel so my card isn't loosey-goosey and like, you know, flapping around. So I have a lot of foam tape there, but it's necessary. So now I'm using the mask from the stencil set to cover up my window because I decided I wanted to add some black licorice silk from Spellbinders onto my black card front. Now this is going to give me some added detail and a little bit of shimmer and kind of that bubbly feel to my card. It's going to dry back a lot lighter with more shimmer than it first appears. You can see some of those splatters are already drying and looking very shimmery. And I didn't get any on my window sheet because I used that mask. Here are the fortune teller embellishments that I used on the first card. I'm also using these as my shaker element. I'm not going to put in too many. I really want these to be like the bubbles inside the bottle, like shake it up and makes the bubbles. So plus I love them. I don't want to use a ton of them. So here I'm just making sure that the flat side is down onto my shaker because that makes them look more round. So once I had all that I wanted, I peeled off the back of my foam tape. I'm going to line up the two panels and pick up that background. And you can see how fun those bubbles look inside this shaker. So cool. All right, now we're going to add some more die cut pieces to this bottle. This is the label piece. I die cut it from watercolor cardstock because I thought it was like a special looking paper that would make this champagne look like it was, you know, expensive with a special label on it. And this time I'm going to use gold paper on my labels and the top of my bottle. I like that foil look for these bottles. I think it's really fun. It makes it look special. So there's the foil wrapper for the top of the bottle. And then for the little label, I also used watercolor cardstock. It fits on there perfectly. And the little circle for the top of this label, I die cut from gold glitter paper. So there we have it. So many options when you have the stencil set and the die set, right? For the sentiment, I am using that bubble layer in vellum this time, and that looks really good, allowing the background to show through a little bit. I love doing the bubble layer in vellum. It's my favorite. All right, so there we have the cheers ready to be added on, and this, I'm just putting glue behind the gold foil part so it doesn't show through the vellum, and that fits perfectly at the top of the card. I've added my die cut cork to some paper tape and putting it on the back of the stencil, and then I can add ink to those raised up areas of the cork that the die puts into the paper, but now I have ink added to the top of those. I just love that. It's so clever. So I added a little more of that vintage photo around the edge of the cork to give it more detail, and I just set that aside because I want to figure out how I want everything to fit on the card in just a moment. But now I'm showing you how I die cut the opening of the wine glass to make like the actual liquid inside the wine glass. And now I'm adding the ink to it with my makeup style blending brush and the stencil. And this can be paper pieced into my wine glass. So a different way of adding the wine or champagne into the glass than I did on the first card. And that's because you have the stencil, you have the dies, like the possibilities are just endless with these two options. So I'm gluing the wine glass to my card, and then I'll paper piece in the liquid part. And I just used white paper for the wine glass on this one. I got a little excess glue, so my tip is press to that die cut down with a paper towel and it will pick up the excess glue that kind of seeps out. And there you can see just paper piecing in the liquid part, and it looks great. Love that. All right, now for the cork, I'm going to put this on with some foam squares, and I did play around with placement. I'm sure you guys do this. Should I put it here? Does it look better there? Should I tilt it like this, right? And finally, I decided, nah, I like it best down here. So there I added it finally, and then I'm adding more of those fortune teller bubbles, like they're popping up out of the wine glass, as well as more bubbles for the wine glass itself. So I love this, that it picks up the color in the card. Those bubbles look pink. It's perfect. So I have bubbles in the wine bottle, in the wine glass, and then exploding out. I decided to stamp right on my label. And this is not a good idea. I don't recommend this because there's not a hard surface behind that label. It's an open window for my shaker. So when I stamp it, you know, as good as a stamper as I think that I am, I actually didn't get good pressure on the W and the Y. So I just took a fine tip pen and kind of drew that in. But now I have my Happy New Year's card, and I have an anniversary card, both made with the same stencils and the same dies, but two different looks. So I think that these are so much fun, and I really would like to do like a ship in a bottle scene. Wouldn't that be cool with the set? Plus I love the size of it, that it fits on a slimline card. It would also fit on an A7 size card, and of course you could trim it down to fit other size cards too. So lots of options with this set, and such a fun one for New Year's too. So if you missed out on making some Christmas cards, maybe you want to make some New Year's cards. All right, here's to a 2022 full of many blessings, and I will see you very soon on the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!